Welcome to the Detective STARBORN podcast.
Hello, dear listeners. We're thrilled to have you back in the world of mysterious crimes and detective stories.
Before we begin, we have a small request. If you enjoy what we do, please subscribe to our podcast and hit that like button.
Your support really helps us grow and create even more interesting stories for you.
Just a reminder, new episodes come out every single day, so make sure you don't miss out.
We can't wait to share today's incredible case with you.
Now, let's dive into today's story.
Sarah, looking at the notes you've prepared for today, I have to admit, I poured myself an extra cup of coffee for this one. It's heavy.
It is, William. It really is. Today, we aren't just talking about a crime. We are talking about a cultural phenomenon, a name that, unfortunately, has become synonymous with the very concept of a serial killer.
We are talking about Theodore Robert Bundy.
Ted Bundy. Exactly.
It's strange, isn't it? Even if you've never read a true crime book in your life, you know that name. It hangs over the 1970s like a dark cloud.
It does, and I think part of the reason his name is so enduring and so terrifying is that he shattered the archetype of what we thought a monster looked like.
Right. Before Bundy, I think the collective consciousness imagined the boogeyman as, well, a monster. Someone lurking in the shadows, visibly deranged, an outcast.
Precisely. But Bundy, he was the man next door. He was the law student. He was the guy who helped you with your books. He was handsome, charming, articulate. And that, I think, is what makes this story so uniquely chilling. It forces us to ask, do we really know the people around us?
That's a terrifying thought to start with, Sarah. But you're right. It's the camouflage that scares us the most.
So, listeners, I want you to get comfortable. Maybe check that the doors are locked, because we are going to peel back that camouflage. We're going to look past the charming facade that Hollywood loves to portray and look at the cold, hard reality of a man who destroyed countless lives.
And we aren't going to sugarcoat it. The source material we're working with today is raw, and we're going to be just as honest.
Absolutely. So let's go back, way back, before the headlines, before the electric chair. Let's go to Burlington, Vermont, November 24th, 1946.
The beginning of the end, in a way.
Indeed. Theodore Robert Cowell was born to Eleanor Louise Cowell. She was young, 22 years old, and unmarried. Now, William, you know the social climate of the 1940s.
Oh, absolutely. Having a child out of wedlock in 1946 wasn't just frowned upon, it was scandalous. It was social suicide for a family concerned with appearances.
Exactly. And that social pressure created the first great lie of Ted Bundy's life. His grandparents, Eleanor's parents, were deeply concerned about their reputation, so they concocted a story.
This is the part that always gives me pause, the elaborate nature of the deception.
It's heartbreaking, really. They decided that they, the grandparents, would raise Ted as their son, and Eleanor, his biological mother?
She was to be his sister.
Yes. He grew up believing his mother was his sister and his grandparents were his parents.
Can you imagine the psychological impact of that? I mean, listeners, just take a moment to think about that dynamic. The foundational truth of your existence, who brought you into this world, is a fabrication.
It really makes you think about the nature of trust, doesn't it? If you can't trust the basic family unit, who can you trust?
And he didn't find out until later, right?
Correct. He found out much later in life. He actually told a coworker later on, the famous writer Anne Rule, who we will definitely talk about, that he grew up believing he was just a late baby born to his grandparents.
Finding that out, that has to shatter a person's reality. Now, I'm not saying it creates a serial killer. Plenty of people have traumatic family secrets and don't hurt anyone, but it establishes a pattern of deception. His life started with a lie.
It did. And you know, William, while he didn't display all the classic McDonald triad traits, the bedwetting, fire starting, animal cruelty trifecta we usually look for, there were signs.
Oh, there are always signs if you look close enough. What did he do?
There is a story about his aunt. She was taking a nap one afternoon. She woke up and felt something strange. She opened her eyes to see 3-year-old Ted standing by her bed.
3 years old. Okay.
He was standing there, grinning, and he had gone into the kitchen and taken knives. He placed them all around her sleeping body.
No way.
Yes, a circle of knives, just watching her.
That gives me goosebumps. That's not normal curiosity. That's predatory. At 3?
It's haunting. His aunt even said later, he wasn't like other children. He was haunted by something else.
Haunted, that's a powerful word. It suggests that the darkness was there from the start, baked into the clay.
It certainly seems that way. As he grew up, that darkness hid behind a mask of superiority. He was a shy kid, he stuttered a bit, but he felt better than everyone.
Classic narcissism. I am special and the world just doesn't realize it yet.
Exactly. He viewed himself as a medium fish in a small pond. He learned to mimic people. He was a chameleon. He studied how people acted so he could act that way too.
That's the sociopathic trait right there. Not feeling the emotion, but learning of the emotion.
And it worked, William. That's the scary part. It worked because he was conventionally attractive. He had that pretty privilege.
It's a disturbing reality, isn't it? We tend to trust good-looking people. We equate beauty with goodness. If he had looked like a monster, maybe he would have been stopped sooner. But he looked like a politician.
Which, ironically, is exactly what he wanted to be. But before we get to his ambitions, we have to talk about the women. Or rather, the one woman who might have triggered it all.
Stephanie Brooks, or, the pseudonym for his first love?
Yes, Stephanie Brooks. He met her at the University of Washington in 1967. She was everything he wanted to be. Wealthy, powerful family, beautiful.
She was a status symbol for him.
Completely. He didn't just love her, he wanted what she represented. He was obsessed with her. But she dumped him.
And for a narcissist, rejection isn't just sad. It's an insult. It's a wound.
It was a catastrophic ego to his ego. She ended it, and he fell apart. But then he rebuilt himself. He spent years crafting a persona specifically to win her back.
This is the long game part of the story that always chills me. He didn't just move on, he calculated.
He re-entered her life years later, looking successful, working in politics, looking like the man she wanted. He got her to fall in love with him again. He even got her to agree to marry him.
And then?
And then, once he had her exactly where he wanted her, he ghosted her.
Just cut her off?
Cold turkey. No explanation. When she finally got a hold of him and asked what happened, he simply said, "I have no idea what you mean."
Wow, that is pure malice. That wasn't about love. That was about winning. He wanted to prove he could have her and then discard her.
It was about control. And listeners, I want you to remember that word, control. That is the currency Ted Bundy traded in.
But while he was playing this cruel game with Stephanie, he had a real life, didn't he? A real partner.
He did. Elizabeth Kendall.
Liz, the woman who lived in the shadow of the monster without knowing it.
It's terrifying. She was a single mom, divorced, working at the university. She met Ted at a bar in 1969.
And he charmed her instantly.
Instantly. She said he took her breath away. The next morning, she woke up to find him making pancakes for her daughter Molly.
See, that's the image that's so hard to reconcile. The domesticity, the pancakes, the father figure. How do you square that with the butcher we know he became?
You don't. That's the horror of it. He played the role of the loving boyfriend perfectly, most of the time. But there were cracks.
Like what?
There were times she'd wake up and find him examining her with a flashlight under the covers.
That's visceral. That makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Just inspecting her? Like a specimen?
Like an object. And their relationship was volatile. He'd disappear for days. He'd gaslight her.
You're crazy, Liz. Why don't you trust me, Liz? Meanwhile, he's living a double life.
A very dark double life. And speaking of double lives, we have to mention his job during this time. You're not going to believe this, listeners.
The The suicide hotline.
The suicide hotline. In 1971, Ted Bundy got a job answering calls from people in their darkest moments.
And he was good at it, wasn't he?
He was exceptional. His coworker, Anne Rule, who would later write, said he exuded genuine caring. She sat beside him, William. She shared coffees with him. She trusted him with her life.
It's the ultimate irony. He's saving lives by day, or by night shift, and fantasizing about ending them in the back of his mind.
And Rule said something chilling in her book. She said, looking back, she realized that while he was listening to her, he was just staring, like he was analyzing her.
Did she suspect anything at the time?
Not a thing. But her dog did.
Ah, the dog. I'm a firm believer in that. If the dog doesn't like you, I don't trust you.
Anne's dog would growl every time Ted came near the desk. The hackles would go up. The animal instinct knew what the human intellect couldn't see.
We should all listen to our dogs more often. So he's working the hotline, he's dating Liz, he's gaslighting Stephanie, he's spinning all these plates.
And he's studying psychology, and he's dabbling in politics. He actually worked on the re-election campaign for Governor Dan Evans.
It's ambitious. He really thought he was going to be somebody.
He shadowed the opponent just to record speeches and undermine him. He loved the game of manipulation.
It seems like everything in his life was practice. Practice for blending in, practice for manipulating, practice for controlling outcomes.
And then the practice ended. The real horror began.
1974.
1974. It's believed the catalyst was that final rejection of Stephanie Brooks. He discarded her, and something inside him snapped, or perhaps unlocked.
The rage needed a new outlet.
Exactly. And listeners, this is where the story takes its darkest turn. We are entering the timeline of the murders.
Let's take a breath here, because these aren't just names on a list. These were young women with futures.
January 4th, 1974. Karen Sparks. She was an 18-year-old student dancer at the University of Washington. She was asleep in her own bed.
The one place you're supposed to be safe.
Ted broke into her basement apartment. He took a metal rod from a bed frame. And, William, the brutality is difficult to even speak about.
He bludgeoned her.
He smashed her skull, and he assaulted her with the metal rod so violently it caused massive internal injuries.
But she survived?
She did. Her roommate found her nearly 20 hours later. She was in a coma for 10 days. She survived, but with permanent, life-altering injuries.
And she never saw him?
No, she was asleep. But later, she realized she had seen him, stalking her, watching her on campus.
He was hunting. That's what it was. He was selecting prey.
And because she survived, and because the police couldn't possibly imagine a clean-cut law student doing this, he was free to strike again.
And he didn't wait long.
Only a month. February 1974. Linda Ann Healy, 21 years old, a weather reporter. Talented, popular.
She vanished from her room, right?
Yes, and this is where we see his methodology evolving. Her parents and police found blood on her pillow. Her nightgown was hanging in the closet with blood on the neck.
That implies he changed her clothes?
It implies he knocked her unconscious, stripped her, dressed her in regular clothes, and carried her out.
That takes time. That takes nerve. To do that in a house where other people might be?
It shows how confident he was. He felt invisible. And for a long time, he essentially was.
There was a witness, though, wasn't there? A neighbor?
Not exactly a witness to the abduction, but a neighbor heard a scream. But William, do you know what they did?
Let me guess. They ignored it?
They thought it was just college kids goofing around.
It's the bystander effect, or just rationalization. We don't want to believe something terrible is happening, so we convince ourselves it isn't.
Exactly. 3 days later, a strange call came into the police. A male voice said, "The person who attacked the girl last month and the person who took Linda away are one and the same."
Who was that? Was it Bundy taunting them?
It's never been proven, but it fits his profile. The arrogance, I'm doing this and you can't catch me.
And Linda, she wasn't found for a long time.
14 months. Her remains were found on Taylor Mountain.
Taylor Mountain. We're gonna hear that name again.
We are. It became his graveyard, his trophy room. He would return to the bodies, William.
Necrophilia.
Yes, he wouldn't just kill them, he would return to visit them, to engage with the remains until decomposition made it impossible.
It is pure evil. There is no other word for it. It's a level of depravity that suggests the murder wasn't the end goal. The possession was the goal. The total ownership of the person.
It's horrifying, and he was escalating. The gaps between the attacks were getting shorter.
Who was next?
March 1974, Donna Gail Manson, 19 years old. She was walking to a jazz concert on campus. She just vanished into thin air.
And again, no clues?
Nothing. Bundy later confessed to burning her skull in Liz Kendall's fireplace.
In his girlfriend's fireplace while she was probably home?
He said it was the one thing Liz would never forgive him for.
The audacity, the violation of her home, her sanctuary. He brought the remains of his victims into their shared living space. God, Sarah, that makes me sick.
It's monstrous. And during all this, he's working at the Department of Emergency Services. He's listening to the reports of missing women. He's monitoring the police response to his own crimes.
He's staying one step ahead because he has the inside scoop.
And he's refining his act. This is when the cast comes into play.
The broken arm, the sling.
April 1974, Susan Rancor, 18 years old. Witnesses saw a man with his arm in a sling struggling to carry books.
It's the perfect trap. It exploits a woman's kindness. We are taught to be helpful, to be polite. Oh, let me help you with that.
Exactly. Can you help me carry these to my car? It's a brown Volkswagen Bug.
The Beetle, such an iconic, friendly-looking car.
She goes to help him. She leans into the car to put the books down, and he strikes. Crowbar to the head.
It's brutal efficiency. He weaponized their empathy.
He did, and he did it again and again. May 1974, Roberta Parks. June 1974, Brenda Ball. June 1974, Georgianne Hawkins.
He's accelerating. It's barely weeks apart now.
He's insatiable, and he's getting bolder. Georgianne Hawkins was taken from an alleyway behind a sorority house. There were people everywhere. He was like a ghost.
It really makes you wonder how he managed to control them so quickly.
He was strong, he was fast, and he used the element of surprise. And the fake injury disarmed them. Who is afraid of a man on crutches?
Right, you lower your guard.
But the true peak of his brazenness, the moment that I simply cannot wrap my head around, happened on July 14th, 1974. Lake Sammamish State Park.
This is the story that always keeps me up at night. It was a sunny day, right?
A beautiful summer day. The park was packed. Thousands of people, families, teenagers, sunbathers.
And there's Ted.
There's Ted, wearing a tennis outfit. His arm is in a sling. He approaches a woman. He introduces himself. Hi, I'm Ted.
He used his real name.
His real name. Can you imagine the arrogance? Hi, I'm Ted. Can you help me load a sailboat onto my car?
And there was no sailboat.
No sailboat. One woman went with him, got to the car, saw there was no boat, got a bad feeling, and ran.
Smart girl. Listeners, always trust your gut. If there's no sailboat, run.
But others weren't so lucky. Janice Ott.
She went with him.
She wanted to help. Witnesses saw her walking with Ted to the parking lot. They were deep in conversation. She was never seen alive again.
And he didn't stop there. Not that day.
No. 4 hours later. 4 hours. He goes to the same park.
While the police are probably already being called about the first girl.
It was chaos, but yes, people were noticing. But he goes back, and he finds Denise Naslund.
2 women in one afternoon from a crowded public park.
He took them both. He later admitted that Denise was still alive when he brought her back to where he was keeping Janice.
He had them together?
He forced one to watch the other die.
I don't even have words for that, Sarah. That is the stuff of nightmares, absolute nightmares.
It is. And the tragedy is, people saw him. They gave descriptions. A good-looking man named Ted with a cast driving a VW Bug.
That's a pretty specific description.
They made a sketch. It looked just like him.
And people called it in, didn't they?
They did. 4 different people called the police saying, hey, that sketch looks like Ted Bundy.
Including Anne Rule?
Including Anne Rule, and including Liz Kendall.
Liz called the police on her own boyfriend?
She did. She saw the sketch. She knew he drove a VW. She knew he had crutches in the house for some reason. She called them.
And?
And the police dismissed it.
Why?
Because he was a law student. He was articulate. He had no criminal record. They looked at his file and said, no, not this guy. He's too nice.
The prejudice of appearance. He doesn't look like a killer.
Liz called 3 times. 3 times, William, and they told her she was wrong. They made her feel crazy for suspecting him.
So she stayed with him?
She stayed because the authorities told her he was innocent.
Can you imagine the guilt she must have felt later, knowing she was sleeping beside a monster, trying to turn him in and being ignored?
It destroyed her. But as the heat started to rise in Seattle, as the Ted sketch was plastered everywhere, Bundy knew his time in Washington was running out.
He could feel the net closing, even if the police were incompetent.
Exactly. So, in the fall of 1974, he made a move. He got accepted into law school in Utah.
Out of the frying pan?
And into the fire. He moved to Salt Lake City. And listeners, if you think the horror stopped because he moved states, you are very, very wrong.
It was just a change of hunting grounds.
He even got baptized into the Mormon church when he arrived, trying to clean his slate, trying to stop himself.
Did he try to stop?
He told himself he would. He said, I'll just rape them. I won't kill them.
Bargaining with his own demons.
But demons like that don't bargain. Almost immediately after arriving in Utah, the disappearances started again.
But that is a story for our next episode.
It is. We have covered the birth of the monster, the deception, and the reign of terror in Washington. But when we come back for part 2, we're going to talk about the Utah crimes, the sloppy mistakes he started to make, and the moment the law finally caught up with Officer Rosalind.
You won't want to miss it. It gets even more intense from here.
Thank you for listening to the Detective STARBORN podcast.
Stay safe, keep your doors locked, and trust your dogs.
And don't talk to men in slings.
Good advice.
See you next time. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
But that is a story for our next episode. Oh wait, no. We're diving right into that darkness now, aren't we? Because he didn't stop. He couldn't.
He couldn't, and that bargaining stage, that lasted about as long as a snowflake in hell. He moves to Salt Lake City, Utah, theoretically to attend law school. And William, you won't believe the lengths he went to for his mask here. He actually got baptized.
You're kidding?
I wish I was. He joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Can you imagine trying to wash away sins that haven't even dried yet? It was purely for image. He wanted to be seen as this upstanding, religious law student. But while he was sitting in pews on Sunday, he was hunting the rest of the week.
It's the ultimate camouflage. Who suspects the nice law student who just got baptized? It's terrifying because it works.
It worked too well. Almost immediately after arriving in Utah, this is late 1974 now, the bargaining ends. He picks up Nancy Wilcox in October. She vanishes. Then Melissa Ann Smith. Then Laura Aim. And William, the details. They found them in the mountains. The things he did to them, it wasn't just murder. It was total defilement. He was escalating. The cooling off period was gone.
It sounds like the beast was fully off the leash at this point.
Completely. And there's one story from this time, one that really haunts me. It's about a woman named Rhonda Stapley. Have you heard of her?
The name sounds familiar, but refresh my memory.
She was waiting for a bus. Classic Bundy scenario. He pulls up in that infamous brown VW Bug. He offers her a ride. She gets in. He drives her up to Cottonwood Canyon. And then the mask drops. He attacks her. He strangles her, William, over and over. He would strangle her until she passed out, let her wake up, and then do it again.
Oh my God, that is torture. That is pure sadism.
It is. But here is the miracle. At one point, after she regained consciousness, Bundy looked away, just for a split second. Maybe he was adjusting something in the car, maybe he was looking for a weapon.
Rhonda didn't hesitate. She threw herself out of the car. Her pants were tangled around her ankles, she was disoriented, but she fell into a fast-moving mountain river.
No way.
Yes, the current swept her away. It saved her life. Can you imagine the cold shock of that water, the terror?
I can't even. I mean, imagine the adrenaline. You're half dead, you've been strangled repeatedly, and your only option is to throw yourself into a freezing river? That is the will to live right there. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What would you do in that split second? Would you freeze or would you jump? Rhonda jumped. But here is the part that breaks my heart, William. She didn't tell anyone.
What? Why?
Shame, fear. She was a young woman in the 70s. She thought she would be blamed. She thought people would say, "Why did you get in the car? Why were you alone?" So she kept this horrific trauma a secret for over 40 years.
40 years? That is a lifetime of carrying a ghost. That is heavy. It just shows how the culture back then, and honestly, sometimes even now, silences victims. She survived a serial killer and felt like she was the one who had to hide.
Exactly. And while Rhonda is carrying this secret, and while these other women are being found in the mountains, guess who is still in the picture?
Don't tell me. Liz?
Liz. She's back in Seattle, but they are still technically together. They're talking on the phone, he's visiting, and the cracks are starting to show, William. She's starting to find things.
Like what?
Strange things. She finds crutches in his room.
Crutches? But he wasn't injured, was he?
No, not at all. She finds a bag of plaster of Paris, the kind you use to make casts. She finds women's clothing that definitely isn't hers.
Okay, hold on. If I found crutches and plaster in my partner's apartment, and they had 2 working legs, I'm asking some serious questions. How did he explain that away?
That's the thing about a narcissist, right? He just gaslighted her. He probably said he found them, or he was holding them for a friend, or, and this is the worst part, he would turn it around on her. Why are you snooping? Don't you trust me?
The classic deflection. Make the accuser feel guilty for noticing the evidence of the crime. It's psychological warfare.
It is. And Liz, she was drowning in it. She suspected him, but she loved him. She actually called the police a few times, listing him as a suspect, but they dismissed her. They thought, no, not the law student, not the nice guy. She was made to feel crazy for seeing the truth.
That is tragic. She was screaming into the void.
And while she was screaming, Bundy was getting bolder. We need to talk about November 8th, 1974. This day is pivotal. It's the day the clock finally started ticking for him.
This is the mall incident, right?
Yes, the Fashion Place Mall in Murray, Utah. It's a Friday evening, bustling, full of people. Bundy walks up to an 18-year-old girl named Carol Duranch. But he's not Ted Bundy, law student. Who is he this time, Fenrir?
He's Officer Rosalind.
Officer Rosalind. He approaches her and tells her with a straight face that her car has been broken into in the parking lot. He says they caught a suspect, but they need her to come down to the station to identify if anything is missing.
It's so predatory. He's using authority. He's using the badge, even if he didn't have a real one, to bypass her defenses. Because who says no to a police officer, especially when you're 18?
Exactly. And Carol, she's smart, but she's young. She trusts the system. She goes with him to his car, a brown Volkswagen Bug. Now, William, pause for a second. Does a police officer drive a beat-up VW Bug?
No, absolutely not. That should have been the reddest of red flags.
It should have been. And Carol noticed it. She asked him about it, and he just smoothed it over. Oh, it's my personal vehicle. We're just going a short way. He was so calm. So she gets in.
Can you imagine the tension in that car? You're sitting there thinking you're safe, but something in your gut is screaming.
And that gut feeling was right. They start driving, and suddenly he pulls over. Not at a police station, but on the side of a curb. And his demeanor, it just changes. Carol said he went from friendly officer to ice cold in a heartbeat. He grabs her arm, he pulls out a pair of handcuffs.
This is the moment. This is the moment where most people freeze.
But Carol didn't. He gets one cuff on her wrist, just one, and she explodes. She starts fighting, screaming, clawing at him. He pulls out a gun, or what looked like a gun, and threatens to blow her head off. But she doesn't stop. She throws the door open and tumbles out of the car.
Yes, go, Carol. That is the fight or flight kicking in, and she chose fight.
She flagged down a passing car. A couple stopped for her. She was hysterical, half handcuffed, crying. They took her to the real police station. But here's the tragedy, William. While Carol was escaping, the monster didn't go home. He didn't go hide. He was hungry.
He went hunting again, the same night?
The same night, just a few hours later, he goes to a high school in Bountiful, Utah. They're putting on a play. He stalks the parking lot, and he finds 17-year-old Debbie Kent. She left the play early to pick up her brother. She never made it.
That is devastating. One escapes, so he just replaces her, like it's nothing, like they're just objects to him.
But here is the twist, the sloppy mistake we promised the listeners. In the struggle with Carol Durant at the mall, or maybe later at the school, something was left behind. In the parking lot of the high school, police found a small key.
A key?
A handcuff key. And guess what? It fit the handcuffs that were still dangling from Carol Durant's wrist.
That is the smoking gun, or the smoking key, I guess, that links the two crimes perfectly.
It does. But they still didn't have a name. They had a description. They had the car type, but they didn't have, not yet. It would take a few more months of terror. But then, August 1975.
The traffic stop. I love this part. It's so mundane. After all the horror, he gets caught because of bad driving.
It's poetic justice, isn't it? He's creeping through a neighborhood in the middle of the night. A police officer, Bob Hayward, sees this VW Bug cruising around with its lights off. He lights him up. Bundy takes off. A high-speed chase through a quiet suburb.
Which, if you're a serial killer with a body in the trunk or evidence in the back seat, is the stupidest thing you can do. Just pull over and take the ticket, man.
Right? But panic makes you stupid. He finally stops. The officer approaches. And looking inside that car, William, can you imagine what that officer saw?
I've seen the inventory list. It's the stuff of nightmares.
It is. The officer asks to search the car. Bundy, arrogant as ever, agrees. And inside, they find what is essentially a murder kit. A ski mask, a second mask made from pantyhose, a crowbar, handcuffs, trash bags, rope, an ice pick.
Who drives around with an ice pick and pantyhose? I mean, come on. Unless you are going to a very strange costume party, that is an admission of guilt right there.
It really is. And the officer knew it. He arrested him. And this, finally, is the beginning of the end. Or so we thought.
Yeah, because the legal system, well, it's about to get complicated.
So complicated. They connect him to the Carol Durant kidnapping because she identifies him. She walks into a lineup and points right at him. Brave girl.
Incredibly brave. Facing down the man who tried to end you?
He gets convicted for the kidnapping. He gets sentenced to 1 to 15 years in Utah State Prison, which honestly, for what he did, feels like a slap on the wrist. But while he's there, authorities in Colorado are connecting the dots. They charge him with the murder of Karen Campbell.
So now he's facing a murder charge. The death penalty is on the table. And this is where Ted's ego really takes the wheel.
Oh, his ego is driving the bus, the car, and the plane at this point. He gets extradited to Aspen, Colorado, and he decides, I don't need a lawyer. A law student dropout. So he decides to represent himself.
Which is the classic mistake. The man who represents himself has a fool for a client. But in this case, it gave him perks, didn't it?
Huge perks. Because he was his own attorney, the judge allowed him to use the courthouse law library without handcuffs, and sometimes without a guard right next to him.
No. You have a suspected serial killer, a man convicted of kidnapping, and you leave him alone in a room? In the 70s?
It was a different time, Fenrir. A more trusting time. A stupid time, maybe. It's June 7th, 1977. He's in the library. It's on the second floor. The windows are open because it's a beautiful summer day. He looks around. The guard is outside having a smoke or distracted. And Ted, he just goes for it.
He jumps?
He jumps from the second story. He lands, sprains his ankle, which is ironic because he spent so much time injuries to lure women, and now he actually has one.
That is irony.
But he keeps running. He disappears into the mountains surrounding Aspen. He's gone.
This sparked a massive manhunt, didn't it? I remember reading about roadblocks, dogs, helicopters.
Everything. But he was elusive. He broke into cabins, he stole food, he lived like a wild animal for 6 days. Can you imagine the fear in that town, knowing he was out there, somewhere in the woods, watching?
It's like a horror movie. The killer is loose in the forest. Lock your doors.
But he wasn't a survivalist. He was a city boy. The cold, the pain in his ankle, it wore him down. He eventually stole a car, because of course he did, and tried to drive back into Aspen. But he was driving erratically. Again.
He's a terrible driver. For a guy who spends so much time in cars, you'd think he'd be better at it.
He gets pulled over. The police realize who he is, and back to jail he goes. You'd think that would be it. You'd think they would lock him in a box and throw away the key.
You'd think they'd put him in solitary, shackles, the whole 9 yards.
But no, he's back in the Glenwood Springs jail. And this is where the legend of his genius really gets overblown, I think. It wasn't genius, it was just persistence and weight loss.
He started starving himself, right?
He did. He lost about 35 pounds. He became skeletal. And he acquired a hacksaw blade from another inmate. Don't ask me how. And for months, William, he sawed at a hole in the ceiling of his cell.
Wait, how did the guards not hear that or see the dust?
He did it during shower times when the water was running loud. He covered the hole with books or taped papers over it. It was incredibly patient. It's terrifying to think of that focus. If he had applied that focus to else, curing cancer, engineering, he could have been great. Instead, he used it to become a monster.
It's wasted potential in the worst possible way. So it's December now, the holidays.
December 30th, 1977. Everyone is gearing up for New Year's Eve. The jail staff is skeleton crew, probably thinking about parties and champagne. Ted waits for the perfect moment. He piles up books on his bed under the blanket to make it look like he's sleeping.
The classic Ferris Bueller move.
Exactly. He climbs up into the hole. He wriggles through the crawl space. Now this is the crazy part. The crawl space led to the ceiling of the chief jailer's apartment, which was attached to the jail.
No way.
Yes way. He breaks through the ceiling into the jailer's closet. He puts on some of the jailer's clothes, and he just walks out the front door.
He just walked out.
He walked out into the snowy Colorado night, a free man, again.
That is infuriating. It's incompetence on a staggering level. You have a monster, a known escape risk, and he just walks out the front door wearing the warden's clothes?
It really makes you lose faith in the system, doesn't it? And this time he was smarter. He didn't run into the woods. He caught a bus. He caught a train. He made his way to Chicago. He laid low, and then he headed south.
To Florida.
To Florida, Tallahassee, a place where nobody knew his face, a place where the news of Theodore Bundy hadn't saturated the papers yet. He rented a room under a fake name, Chris Hagen. He tried to live a normal life for a few days. He tried to go straight again. But the hunger was always there.
And he was broke, right?
Broke, hungry, desperate. He was stealing food. He was stealing credit cards. He was spiraling. And when a narcissist spirals, when they feel like the world owes them something and they aren't getting it, they lash out.
And this is where the story shifts from a cat and mouse detective story to a pure slasher film. Because what happens next?
What happens next is the darkest chapter of all. He's in Tallahassee. It's January 1978. He's been free for a couple of weeks. He's watching the sorority houses near Florida State University. He's stalking. He's waiting.
It's the calm before the storm, but it's not a calm at all. It's a pressure cooker.
It is. He's feeling invincible. He escaped prison. He thinks he's smarter than the police, smarter than the judges, smarter than everyone. He thinks he's a god. And on the night of January 15th, he decides to prove it.
The Chi Omega House.
The Chi Omega House. But before we walk through those doors, before we witness the horror that happened inside, I need you to understand the state of mind he was in. He wasn't just killing for pleasure anymore. He was killing out of rage. He was killing to punish the world for daring to cage him.
He was a rabid dog.
Exactly. And the women in that house, sleeping in their beds, they had no idea that a rabid dog was standing on their porch, testing the handle.
Just the thought of that, someone testing the handle while you sleep.
It's the universal nightmare, isn't it? And for the women of Chi Omega, the nightmare was about to become real.
But that is where we have to pause. Because what happens inside that house and the trial that follows, the media circus, the bite marks, the electric chair, that deserves its own episode.
It does. We've covered the deception, the Utah hunting grounds, the survivors who fought back, and the escapes that should never have happened. But when we come back for part 3, we are going to Florida. We are going to the trial of the century, and we are going to watch the monster finally burn.
You do not want to miss the conclusion of this. It gets heavier, but the justice is sweet.
Thank you for listening to the Detective STARBORN podcast.
Check your windows.
Lock your doors.
And seriously, trust your gut. If something feels off, run.
Run like Carol. Run like Rhonda. Just run. See you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Welcome back, detectives. Grab your tea, pull that blanket a little tighter, and maybe, just maybe, double check that the front door is locked.
Seriously, go check. We'll wait.
We really will. Because, William, if part 1 and part 2 of this deep dive into Ted Bundy taught us anything, it's that safety is, well, it's an illusion sometimes.
It is. And welcome back to the 3rd and final chapter of our Detective STARBORN miniseries on the monster Ted Bundy. I'm William.
And I'm Sarah. And wow, we left off at such a pivotal, terrifying moment. Bundy had escaped prison in Colorado twice. He was loose, he was hungry, and he was heading to Florida.
It's the stuff of nightmares. You know, when we talked about the Utah murders or the Washington disappearances, there was this methodical, stalking quality to it. He was careful.
Right. He was the process killer, as the experts say.
Exactly. But Florida is different. The Ted Bundy that arrives in Tallahassee in January of 1978 isn't the careful law student anymore. He's unraveling. He's feral.
That's the perfect word for it, feral. He's desperate, he's been living off the land, stealing cars, and he feels like this caged animal that's finally snapped. And that brings us to the night of January 15th, 1978.
The Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University.
Just saying the name gives me chills.
It should. Because what happened inside that house, it wasn't seduction. It wasn't the "can you help me with my sailboat" routine. It was pure, unadulterated rage.
It was 3 a.m. The house was silent. Everyone was asleep. And he slipped in through a back door with a broken lock. Can you imagine just a broken mechanism, and suddenly the devil is in the hallway?
And the timeline here, Sarah, is what keeps me up at night. He wasn't in there for hours. He didn't take his time.
No, it was 15 minutes?
Approximately 15 minutes. In 15 minutes, he unleashed absolute hell on 4 different women.
God, it's just so fast to do that much damage.
He started with Margaret Bowman. She was 21. He strangled her with a nylon stocking and beat her. And then he moved to Lisa Levy, who was 20. And Sarah, this is where the feral part really shows.
The bite mark?
The bite mark. He attacked her so viciously, he literally left a part of himself, a signature, on her body. It was animalistic.
It makes you sick to your stomach. He wasn't just killing them, he was trying to, I don't even know, consume them? It's horrific.
It is. And he didn't stop there. In those same 15 minutes, he attacked Karen Chandler and Kathy Kleiner. They survived, thank God, but they were beaten severely. He broke their jaws, their teeth. And then, just like that, he was gone.
But he wasn't done for the night, was he?
No, and that's the manic energy we're talking about. He leaves this house of horrors, the sirens are probably already winding up in the distance, and he doesn't go hide. He goes down the street.
To Cheryl Thomas.
Exactly, 8 blocks away. He breaks into a duplex and attacks Cheryl Thomas in her sleep. She survived too, but she was left with permanent deafness and balance issues because he severed nerves in her ear. He was just hunting.
It feels like he was trying to inflict as much pain as possible in as little time as possible, like he knew the clock was ticking on his freedom.
I think that's exactly it. He felt invincible, but also doomed. It's a dangerous combination.
And yet, he slips away again. He manages to stay under the radar for almost another month, but he wasn't laying low. He was just waiting.
The cool down period. But it didn't last long enough.
No, and this, William, this is the part of the story that breaks my heart the most. We've talked about college students, we've talked about young women, but on February 9th, 1978, he changed his target.
Kimberly Leach.
She was 12.
12 years old.
Just a baby. She was a junior high student in Lake City, Florida. She had forgotten her purse in her homeroom or something, ran back to get it, and she never came back.
It breaks the pattern, doesn't it?
Completely. He usually went for women in their early 20s, long hair, parted down the middle, the Stephanie Brooks lookalikes. But Kimberly, she was a child. It shows that by the end, it wasn't even about the type anymore. It was just about the opportunity. It was about the kill.
Witnesses saw her getting into a vehicle with a stranger, and that was it. Her body was found weeks later in Suwannee River State Park. I can't imagine what her parents went through. Sending your kid to school and she just vanishes.
It's every parent's worst nightmare. And honestly, it's what finally mobilized the entire state of Florida. You don't take a child and get away with it.
No, and thank goodness for Officer David Lee.
A hero in this story, really.
February 15th, 1978, Pensacola. Bundy is driving, let me guess,
You know it.
a Volkswagen Beetle.
An orange one this time. Stolen, of course.
This guy and his Beetles, it's pathological.
It really is. He just couldn't help himself. He stole the car, he was driving erratically, probably exhausted, probably manic, and Officer David Lee lights him up.
And Bundy didn't just pull over and surrender, did he?
Oh no, he tried to run. He kicked the officer's legs out from under him, he scrambled, he fought, but he was done. He was finally in custody for the last time.
And this time, there were no open windows in law libraries.
No, this time the eyes of the world were on him. And that brings us to the main event, the circus.
The trial. I looked up some footage of this before we started recording, William, and circus is the only word for it. It was 1979. It was the first murder trial to be televised nationally in the United States.
It changed everything. Before this, trials were these somber, quiet legal proceedings. Suddenly, it was primetime entertainment.
And Bundy, he loved it.
He soaked it up like a sponge.
He locks in there, and he's not acting like a man on trial for his life. He's acting like he's the host of a talk show. He's smiling, he's winking at the cameras.
And let's not forget the groupies.
Oh God, the fans. It's disturbing, isn't it? The courtroom was packed every day. And who was it packed with? Young women.
Women who looked exactly like his victims.
Yes, they were parting their hair down the middle, wearing hoop earrings, dressing up, basically auditioning for a serial killer.
It makes you want to scream. Do you know what he does to women who look like you?
It's that bad boy syndrome taken to a psychotic extreme. They thought they could fix him or that he was just too handsome to be a killer.
Pretty privilege. It's real and it's deadly.
It is. And Bundy used it. He decided, because his ego knew no bounds, that his public defenders weren't good enough.
Here we go.
He fired his lawyers. Well, mostly. He kept them as advisors, but he decided to represent himself.
Can you imagine? You're on trial for brutal, multiple homicides, facing the electric chair, and you think, you know who the best lawyer for this job is? Me, the guy who didn't finish law school.
It's the ultimate narcissism. He stood up there in his little bow ties and suits, walking around the courtroom, using legal jargon he barely understood.
But the worst part, William, the worst part was the cross-examination.
Yeah, this is hard to talk about.
He actually questioned the survivors. He stood feet away from the women he tried to kill and asked them questions about the attack.
Can you imagine the trauma? Sitting on that stand, and the monster who broke your jaw is standing there asking, "So, what did the attacker look like?" It's psychological torture. He was reliving it. He was getting off on their fear right there in the courtroom.
Absolutely, he was reveling in the control. But despite his little show, despite the fan club, there was one thing he couldn't charm his way out of.
The science.
The bite mark.
It was new technology back then, right? Forensic dentistry?
It was cutting edge. They took molds of Bundy's teeth. And remember, Bundy had really distinctive teeth.
He had a chip, right?
A big chip in his front incisor. And also his bottom teeth were crooked. It was like a fingerprint in his mouth.
And they matched it to the mark on Lisa Levy.
Perfect match.
I remember reading a transcript where he tried to deny it. He tried to say, "Oh, I chipped my tooth after the arrest."
Yeah, nice try, Ted. The jury didn't buy it. They brought in these huge blown-up photos of the bite mark and the dental mold. It was undeniable.
The jury deliberated for, what, less than 7 hours?
Under 7 hours. For a case that complex, that's basically the jury walking into the room, looking at each other and saying, "Yeah, he did it," and walking back out.
Guilty.
Guilty on 2 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder. And the recommendation? Death.
Finally, justice.
But, and there's always a but with this case, the sentencing hearing gave us one of the weirdest moments in legal history.
Judge Edward Cowart.
Judge Cowart, he sentences Bundy to die by the electric chair, but then he gives this speech. Do you have the quote there?
I do. It's baffling. He says, "It's a tragedy for this court to see such a total waste of humanity. You're a bright young man. You'd have made a good lawyer, and I would have loved to have you practice in front of me. But you went another way, partner.
Partner? He called a serial killer partner.
And you'd have made a good lawyer? No, he wouldn't have. He was a terrible lawyer. He got convicted."
Exactly. He botched his own defense. But it just goes to show, Sarah, that even the judge was charmed. Even the judge looked at this white, articulate, handsome man and saw wasted potential instead of pure evil.
If he looked like, I don't know, Charles Manson, if he looked wild and scary, nobody would be saying, "Oh, what a waste." They'd be saying, "Good riddance."
Precisely. It's a mirror held up to society, really. We equate beauty with goodness, and Bundy proved that beauty can mask a rotting soul.
So he gets the death penalty for the Chioma murders, but he still had to stand trial for Kimberly Leach.
Right, and this is where the story takes a turn into the bizarre, the soap opera element.
Carol Ann Boone.
We mentioned her briefly in part 2. She was an old coworker from Washington. She believed in him. She moved across the country to be near him. She sat in court every day.
And during the penalty phase of the Kimberly Leach trial, while he is being tried for murdering a 12-year-old girl, he decides to pull a stunt.
He calls Carol Ann to the stand as a character witness.
And then?
And then he proposes.
In court, while on the stand.
Yes, and because of an obscure Florida law, if you declare marriage in front of a judge in open court, it's legal. He essentially tricked the court into marrying them right then and there.
What was he thinking? If I get married, the jury won't sentence a newlywed to death?
Probably. It was a Hail Mary. It was manipulation. And honestly, it was a way to dominate the headlines again. Serial killer gets married in court. It pushed the victim, Kimberly Leach, off the front page.
That is so vile. And Carol Ann, I try to have empathy, but she said yes.
She did. She said yes. And later, she even, somehow, despite no conjugal visits being officially allowed,
she got pregnant.
She got pregnant. A daughter, Rose, was born in 1982.
While he was on death row.
While he was on death row. It just adds this layer of, I don't know, normalcy? Like he was trying to play house while sitting in a cage waiting to die.
But the domestic bliss didn't last, did it?
No. As the execution date actually started to loom, we're talking late 80s now, Bundy started to realize the charm wasn't working anymore. The appeals were running out.
He got desperate.
He did, and that's when the confessions started.
For years, he denied it. He played the innocent victim of a corrupt system.
I didn't do it. They framed me, over and over. But around 1986, facing the chair, he started to sing.
But it wasn't out of remorse, was it?
Sarah, Ted Bundy didn't know what remorse was. It was a transaction. He thought, if I give them the location of a body, they'll give me another month of life.
He was trading bones for time.
Exactly. He met with the FBI, he met with detectives, he started detailing things that, frankly, people hadn't even imagined. The necrophilia, the decapitations, the keeping of the heads as trophies.
It's the stuff of nightmares.
It was. He admitted to 30 murders, but he hinted at so many more. He'd say things like, add a digit to that number.
So he could have killed 100 women?
Some experts think so. We'll probably never know the true count. He took those secrets to the grave.
And speaking of the grave, January 24th, 1989.
The end of the road. Florida State Prison, Stark, Florida.
The electric chair. Old Sparky.
He ran out of appeals. He ran out of lies. Carol Ann Boone had stopped visiting him. She finally realized he was a monster and took the daughter and left. He was alone.
I saw photos of the crowds outside the prison that morning. Have you seen them?
It was like a tailgate party.
It really was. People with signs saying "Roast in peace" and "Burn Bundy, burn." They were shooting off fireworks.
It's complicated, isn't it? On one hand, you understand the relief. The Bundy man is dying. But on the other hand, the mob mentality, it's intense.
It is, but I think people were just so terrified for so long. For a decade, this man haunted America.
He did. He changed the way we live. He changed the way women walk to their cars. He changed the way we lock our doors.
At 7 a.m., they strapped him in.
He had a final meal, which he didn't eat. Steak and eggs, I think.
And his final words?
I'd like to give my love to my family and friends.
Even at the end, trying to sound like a human being.
Trying to sound like the boy next door, but nobody was buying it anymore. At 7:16 a.m., the switch was thrown.
And Ted Bundy was dead.
Finally.
Wow, it feels heavy, even just talking about it.
It is heavy. Because when you strip away the Netflix specials and the Zac Efron movies and the charm, you're left with a sad, pathetic man who hurt a lot of people because he felt small.
That's it, isn't it? He wasn't a genius. He wasn't a dark god. He was a loser who couldn't handle rejection, so he decided to destroy the world around him.
A medium fish in a small pond, like we said.
You know, William, throughout this whole series, we've talked about him so much, but I want to end by thinking about them.
The victims?
The victims and the survivors. Kathy Kleiner, Karen Chandler, Cheryl Thomas, Rhonda Stapley, Carol Duranche.
The women who fought back. The women who lived.
Exactly. They are the ones who deserve the legacy, not him.
You're absolutely right. It's easy to get caught up in the myth of Ted Bundy, but we have to remember the reality. The reality is pain and loss and broken families.
And the lesson, if there is one, is to trust your gut.
Always.
We said it in part 2, but I'll say it again. Be rude. If a guy in a cast asks for help and it feels weird, say no.
If a police officer tells you to get in the car but won't show you a badge, run.
Scream. Make a scene. Be crazy. Because being crazy might just save your life.
Better to be rude and alive than polite and, well...
Yeah, well, this has been a journey, William. 3 episodes. The rise and fall of America's most notorious predator.
It's been a lot. I think I need to go watch some cartoons or something. Decompress.
I'm gonna go hug my dog.
Good plan. Dogs know. Remember Ann Rule's dog?
Hated him.
Always trust the dog.
Always.
Well, that brings us to the end of another story from Detective STARBORN.
We hope today's episode was interesting and captivating for you.
Just a reminder, new podcasts come out every single day, so don't miss out. Tomorrow, a new incredible story awaits you.
If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, now's the perfect time. And don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this episode.
We'll be waiting for you in the next Detective STARBORN podcast.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.